So I'm super excited to have this conversation, and the walk-up music was right because it had to do with taking off. And we are going to be talking about Rev Share 2.0, and we brought with us a monster, a beast, part of our senior leadership. His name is John Mikush, done everything in real estate, 2,300 agents and counting in his organization, 7-figure earner. Appreciate you being here with us, brother.
Yeah, man, it's a pleasure. Just excited to be a part of your journey as well. And what you guys are doing is amazing.
For sure, dude. So I always for you, I'm like, hey, I got two things to say to you, bro. Number one is thank you. Number two is you're welcome.
That's the beauty of this thing, man. There's just like perfect alignment, like where else or when else did we ever get in business before where we could get into business with people and there wasn't complicated contracts. There wasn't like hands in cookie jars. Like this is just us aligning. And what's best for me is best for you. And I just freaking love that about this opportunity.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing where me and you and Jose, I didn't even know who John Mikush was prior to this. And now in a very short period of time, we collaborated at a super high level. You came to our first gala and stuff and have been an awesome kind of partner. So yeah, dude, we're super appreciative of being in business with you. And I wanted to have you specifically on this call with us because there's been a pretty seismic shift and change in the revenue share model that eXp provides. And I know that there's other models out there that we will say took what Glenn did and try to tinker with numbers and say that it's better and all that. I do believe that there's more room for more than one cloud-based brokerage. At the same time, I think being first to market matters. So I guess first, let's start off with, if you can explain verbally with words as simplified as you can, what Rev Share was previous.
We pioneered the Rev Share model. I do believe all future companies of any significant size will have a revenue sharing model. So, there are competitors out there. I think that's a good thing for all of us. I think that, keeps us honest and moves us forward in a positive way. Now, when they created the Rev Share model 14 years ago, there wasn't anything to copy. It was uncharted territory. So they laid out a plan. They were like, hey, this is what we think we can scale. And then throughout that, we went through just hockey stick like growth. So I joined eXp. We're 14 years old now. I joined eXp in like their 10th to 11th year in that time frame. And that was back in 2020. I joined in like this hyper growth period. And right before I joined in 2019, the company was looking at the Rev Share model and they were like, wow, it's like really growing like fast. And like, we have to make sure this is scalable and sustainable to infinity, not to 100,000 agents or 500,000 agents, but they actually modeled it out to be scalable to infinity. And the way that they did that was they introduced what's called an SRS buffer. And the SRS buffer means that the company will never pay out more than 50%. And they'll never pay out less than 50% of the company dollar.
What we're talking about here is sustainability. So I know a lot of agents are very much so kind of thinking from an agent perspective, which is perfectly fine as far as doing deals and making commissions. From a business perspective, when you look at compensation plans, one of the things that are critical is, one, is it proven?
Yes.
Two, is it sustainable? And part of the reason why, and you would know better than me, right? I'll kind of defer to you based on my understanding, that paying out no more than 50% is that if you're not careful and you start paying out more than 50%, which I think there's some models that are out there that are doing, in order to grow,
sure,
that becomes problematic from a business perspective because you will lose money over time.
Well, way before I got into eXp, I ran an independent real estate brokerage for a lot of years. And one of the things that I would always communicate to my people is that profits are good. Profits help people. If this company doesn't have profit, guess what happens? Yours truly steps in and becomes your competitor. Your team leader steps in and starts selling houses. So I'm a fan of profit. Like, companies need profit in order to be sustainable. So that 50-50 initiative allows the company to operate and run off of 50% of the company dollar, which they've proven they can run profitably very well. So I'm a big fan of it. Like, when people start talking about our buffer, other people, competitors, other people that are trying to recruit against us will say like, oh, hey, they're dropping the Rev Share. And one of the things that's critical to understand, the reason why I'm explaining this whole buffer concept, is that the company was already operating before this change at a 50-50 initiative. So they were paying out 50% of the company dollar, no more, no less. Now, all we've done with this new change is we've made some significant enhancements. These are the biggest enhancements that have been made to the revenue share pool at eXp since the inception of the company. And we'll get into what those enhancements are, but all we did was redistribute the revenue share pool slightly in order to benefit more people, but we didn't take anything away from them, which I think is a key point to understand.
Yeah. So if we could go a little bit deeper on that, because I hear the word redistribute, and for some people in their mind, they may be thinking like, oh, that means like less, that means it's therefore like not as good. If you could explain a little bit what you mean by that.
Yeah. So, we have a 7-level revenue sharing plan. So, I can come in and I can recruit you, Aaron, and you would be on my level 1, and you could recruit Jose. Jose would be on my level 2, your level 1, so on and so forth for 7 levels deep. What's amazing about that is the compound effect over 7 levels is significant. Now, when they take the revenue sharing pool, so that 50% of company dollar, they distribute that amongst those 7 levels. What they've done in this change is they've made it easier to obtain income, to earn revenue share on the first 3 levels. And they've done that by taking just a small percentage away from the bottom levels, the top levels. And I'm totally in favor of that. In fact, everybody at the company who was like kind of talking about these changes as they were coming about, we all said we would be willing to take a haircut on some of the lower levels in order to facilitate growth and help the people that are just getting started.
Yeah, so I want everybody to be really clear about what you're saying. So I know one of the knocks that I hear, because I'm having conversations with agents all the time,
sure.
and then there's a competitor or competitors who will say like, yeah, but we don't have 6th or 7th levels, but only like 1% of the company makes it to those levels anyway. So like, you might as well not even pay attention to it. It doesn't matter, which to me logically is like, well, wait a minute. Like, are you basically saying right out of the gate that you're not going to be one of those people? And number 2, at least I want the opportunity. Like, why would I not want the opportunity, right? And what just came up for me as I heard you explaining that, it's like, okay, this change, if it affects anybody, will affect actually people that have already accomplished 6th and 7th levels, which is a very small portion of the population. Yes. But because the 6th and 7th end up being the biggest, they have in the past got a disproportional amount of the rewards. So what all of those individuals are saying is what Tom Brady said, which was like, yeah, dude, I am willing to a little bit for a long-term game, which is to win championships.
And let's just kind of define like what a little bit is, right? So let's say that we have a huge organization at eXp. We're making, 7 figures plus, let's just say, on those lower levels 4 through 7. What we're talking about is, potentially in the short term, a 5 to 10% haircut on those lower levels in order to benefit all the people on the, levels 1, 2, and 3, what we would call the top levels, the closest levels. And why would I want to do that? Like if I was in that position, why would I want to take that haircut?
Yeah, because you're one of those people.
Yeah, because what's good for my people is good for me. And that's kind of how we open this up with this perfect alignment in this plan. So, if I take a 5% haircut, Aaron, but it benefits you and it allows you to grow quicker and easier and faster, ultimately that's what's best for me. If I'm trying to grow and it's making it harder for my people below me that are newer or the emerging leaders to grow, that's not good for me long term. And again, what's good for one is good for all. And I think the company just said, okay, we got to 90,000 agents. What got us here won't get us there. We have huge plans and vision and leadership in place to take us to that next level of 250,000 agents. What's going to help us do that is new and emerging talent facilitating their growth journey. So I couldn't be more excited about it. When I joined eXp, I had eXp insomnia. I couldn't sleep for a week. I was like, once I got it, it just was unbelievable. I haven't had that feeling like that since. And this announcement, man, I was up all day and night when they first released it. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And we'll get into some of the qualification things that they've done to make it easier as well. But it's truly taking the opportunity to the next level because it's facilitating that growth and the ability for people to come in and earn income easier and faster than ever before.
Yeah. And I know that everything rises and falls on leadership. And what this does is it allows leadership to emerge in those first three lines, not requiring, which we'll get into, any frontline qualifying agents and what that definition is in order to unlock the full amount of Rev Share that's available. Because in the past, you had to have a certain number of frontline qualifying agents. You still would have received Rev Share on those lines, just not the full amount. And that allows people to participate in Rev Share that perhaps aren't these kind of mega attractors who have built enormous organizations, and they can start to earn, a meaningful amount of income from, perhaps only a handful of agents.
Yeah. And I think one of the other key things, something that a mentality that I try to foster within my organization is that simplicity scales and complexity fails. And I think our old model over time, as we've grown and we've learned things about this, we innovated the space. It wasn't there before, is that some of the aspects of the way our compensation plan was designed before were more complex than they needed to be. And now we've discovered, okay, we can, make this simpler, make this easier to understand. And as we do that, I think we paved the way to the next stage of recruiting and growth for our company because it's simple, it's easy to understand. And to your point about the qualifications, we've removed all qualifications on levels 1 to 3. Most people, unless they're in this model, won't grasp the impact of how important that is. But, before we made this change, if you came in, you could recruit somebody and get paid when they sold the house. And then if they recruited somebody, you could potentially get paid on that other person, but you had to do some things to qualify for that first. And in our previous model, that meant you had to have 5 qualified agents that you personally recruited in order to open up that potential income on that second level. And you needed 10 people that you personally sponsored in order to unlock that income on the third level. So still very generous, very doable for somebody that's committed to it. But by removing those qualifications for those 3 levels, what they've essentially done, Aaron, is they've given us the ability, any agent now, to be one recruit away from a significant life-changing income opportunity. Because in the past, if I had recruited one person, say I recruited a large independent brokerage and they had 50 agents, well, I would get credit for the broker. They would be my personal recruit, but all those agents would come in under that broker. They'd be on my level 2. I would only get paid on all of those agents if I had that level open. Case in point, we had a guy right here locally to me in Bozeman, Montana. He was a part-time agent at an independent brokerage. He came in, we recruited him, and he brought his broker to the table. We laid it all down for his broker and said, hey, it makes sense. I'm going to join. And his broker joined with 23 agents. Unfortunately, in our previous model, that didn't allow the agent who introduced us to that broker to really capitalize on all that income that was, coming through his fingers. And with this new plan, you can recruit one. All the people they recruit and all the people those people recruit, you're going to get paid on all those without any qualifications. I think it's going to go down in history as a defining decision in our company and what will ultimately grow to. And I couldn't be more excited about it.
Yeah, I love that. So I told Jose, I called him immediately. I'm like, hey, bro. He's like, what's up? I'm like, you're about to get a nice little bump, my friend. So for Jose, that's what that was. He was one person away. I partnered with him, and since then he's up to like 300 plus agents. And he was his fourth line because of the frontline qualifying agent requirements. He had almost 100 agents there, and he wasn't receiving the full amount of Rev Share, and now he will.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's talk about this in a little bit.
I've got a question.
Oh man, Jose has something to say. You got something to say, bro? Hey.
Let's go, Jose.
Hey, did the percentages on level 1 to 3 change, or did those stay the same? And now it's just easier to qualify on those.
Yeah, great question. So the percentages did change. Prior to this change, our percentages were based on what's known as adjusted gross commission income.
Mhm.
And in order for an agent to cap at eXp, they would need to earn $80,000 in gross commission income, because 20% of 80,000 is 16,000. So don't want to get too in the weeds on that, but like, if you can follow me with the math, you would need as an agent to earn $80,000 to cap at eXp. Previously, our percentages were based on that gross income calculation. So we were saying, okay, you can make X percent on level one, and it was percent of that total adjusted gross commission income. What they've done now is they've said, okay, our model at eXp is a $16,000 cap. That means that we bring in $16,000 as a company from the agent per year, based on what they sell. If they only sell one house and they only pay us $4,000, then there's only $4,000, but the max that it's going to be is $16,000. So with this new model, we're basing those percentages off of the 50% revenue share pool. So $16,000 is the cap. $8,000 of that, if they cap, goes into the revenue share pool. And our new percentages are based on that money. The reason that's important is because that's a clear number to understand, and it's tied directly to the amount of money's coming in. So before, and I think all of the other companies that are out there that are, a revenue sharing model, they talk in up to or max potential. What we've done is we've redesigned it to talk about minimum guarantees. So, hey, if they do this, you can count on that. And then any unrealized revenue share that flows through because maybe somebody leaves our company or retires and don't maintain their license, or maybe somebody comes in and they don't have levels 4, 5, 6, 7 open yet. So there's no qualifications on levels 1 through 3. The qualification on level 4 is 5 agents that are qualified. Again, historically, like ridiculously low qualification. But if an agent didn't have those 5 agents, that income on that 4th level would be uncaptured, and they're going to redistribute that among the agents as well. So we're still going to get a bonus every month from any unrealized income, because again, the company's not going to take any of this money. It's our money in the revenue sharing pool, and you're going to earn it. And if you didn't earn it, it's going to go back into the pool, and they're going to redistribute that as well. So to answer your questions, the percentages have changed, but it's understanding what they were before and what they were based on before, what they're based on now. Now it's super simple. There's $8,000 in income for every capping agent. That's 50% of the company dollar, and they're redistributing that now, and no qualifications on level 1, 2, 3. They've also put an incentive in place. I always think that incentives should be tied to the actions that you want to take. At least this is the way I did it when I ran my team. I'm like, hey guys, an incentive, a bonus, it's like fertilizer. And if I'm the one investing in the fertilizer, I'm only going to invest in the fertilizer if it changes the outcomes that we all want, which is more sales and more productivity. Similar to that, the company's put a bonus in place for personally sponsored agents. So if I personally sponsored you, Jose, I would be eligible in your first year. If you cap, I would get a $4,000 bonus. And this is just like amazing to me, because it's the most payout we've ever had on a level 1. And what it allows for is it allows for me to be compensated for the activities that are good for you and the company. So I can go out and personally sponsor agents. I can make a $4,000 bonus for each capping agent. If they don't cap, that's okay too. I'll still earn a percentage of that $4,000 as they're approaching their cap. And it's just the greatest payout we've ever had. And it's going to incentivize a lot of future growth in our company. Now they're incentivized even more so to recruit an agent financially. And then as they recruit those agents and help those agents grow, they're further incentivized because they don't have to hit qualifications to unlock that 2nd level and 3rd level. So it's amazing, guys. Like Leo Pareja, our new CEO, just stepped into that role shortly, just about a month ago. This announcement, biggest announcement we've had as a company since the inception. Most exciting thing I've seen in the company in the 3.5 years I've been a part of it. And I'm excited, man. It's going to be a lot of growth.
It is, dude. It's going to be a lot. And then to put that into context, that $4,000 bonus, yeah, it's for 1 year, but that's usually what the payout was on the 7th level.
Yeah.
So that gets bumped all the way up to the 1st as an incentive for attracting people to frontline. And then very quickly, I think the other thing that it does is, because something I hear a lot, John, I don't know if you hear this, and they're like, well, like you you could do that. And like, oh yeah. And for some reason they think like
You're
it's
a
outside.
coach, so you could do it because you're a coach or you're a team leader.
Yeah. Or you do the media thing and like, I don't know. And you would think that when I show people these numbers, they leap out of their chair and they're like, let's go. And that is not what happens. What ends up happening is I hear all the reasons why they can't, which is them like just projecting their own kind of insecurities onto me. At the same time, though, what this does from an incentive perspective is it makes the mountain to climb a molehill. Like it really makes it much, much easier to very quickly with an organization of, I don't know, 30, 50 to start earning like a meaningful amount of income from Rev Share.
If we're talking and somebody's like, I don't get these levels and these payouts, like none of this makes sense to me. I'll simplify it for you for this. In the 3.5 years that I've been doing this, a question that I'll ask people when I'm in a meaningful one-on-one conversation with them, and they're actually open-minded to looking at what is eXp all about. And that's a critical stage to get them to, because like myself, I wasn't even interested in sitting down to learn about what it was. For 4 years, I slammed the door on people that came to me with eXp because I thought it meant things that it didn't really mean. But when I sit down with somebody and they're like, okay, show me what I'm missing, show me what I don't understand. Like, I'm not saying I'm coming to eXp, which I think is a cool place to be with somebody. Like, I'm here to get you to change to come to eXp, but I am here to show it to you in a way that I think nobody else has shown it to you. And the question I ask them is simple. Now that you understand kind of how it works, what would eXp have to provide for you in the way of passive income in 3 years for this decision to be a no-brainer for you? Now, I'll ask this question to new agents, seasoned agents, team leaders, broker owners. And here's what I can tell you. When we're having an honest conversation, they say, John, if everything else were to stay the same, meaning I can sell houses like I've been selling, I can have my own branding like I've been having, and I come into eXp, and let's just say, for example's sake, it doesn't cost you more or less. It's the same to be at eXp. What people will tell me would be a no-brainer for them is if at the end of 3 years, by doing what they're already doing somewhere else anyway, they had $10,000 a month in passive income coming into their accounts because of this eXp opportunity. That's an amazing number to really understand and know for yourself. And what's cool is once we understand, okay, the goal is $10,000 a month in passive income, and we show them the plan that's required for them to achieve that, that's when everything changes. And people understand that this isn't an opportunity about recruiting everybody. This isn't an opportunity about recruiting thousands or hundreds of people. This is an opportunity about aligning yourself in a compensation model that will allow you to do what you're already doing, but move you from a single lane highway of selling real estate to a multi-lane super highway that's going to allow you to build wealth multiple different ways. And I came into this opportunity 3.5 years ago, and I recruited over those 3.5 years, 34 people. So not a million like some people think. And I now get paid on almost 2,400 agents as I sit here today, and it's well over 7 figures. So I don't know anywhere else you can do that in real estate. I certainly wasn't on that track as a broker owner. All I saw as a broker owner was my margins dwindling every year. I saw it becoming harder and harder to maintain the same profit margin. And I certainly didn't have passive income like I do now through eXp. So it's been nothing short of life-changing. And I think, Aaron, if somebody's listening to this or watching this, and anything we're saying sparks any curiosity, just know that like Aaron, Jose, myself, none of us are ever going to sell you on this. Like, that's not what we're trying to do. If we have to sell you on this, then we have to sell you every day on this. What we're trying to do is get people to take an honest look at it, get that look at it from a good source, and let us show you the power of what eXp can do, because you're already doing everything you need to do to be successful within this model.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And that same number is what I utilize when I do presentations, because I think at $10,000 a month, you can pay for housing, transportation, food, and insurance for the most part. And then you no longer have to work for, depending on lifestyle, but that should cover it. And you no longer have to work for money per se, right? And what I want everybody on this kind of live stream or who's going to watch it afterwards to recognize is I remember talking to Jose when he was presenting it to me. And even though he's like a little brother to me, I was a hard no for like a hard year. Like, nah, dude, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. And he used this analogy about if we were in a race, and he was like, yeah, dude, if you were in a Ferrari and I was in a Honda, who would win? And I'm like, well, probably me. And he's like, well, even if I was a NASCAR driver? I was like, yeah. He's like, why? He's like, because you're in a better vehicle. And it's the vehicle. So that number that you were just talking about, like, you're not that far away. It took me 10 months to get there. Yep. Like, you're literally not as far away from your kind of ultimate goal and objective, or the biggest you can think at this moment.
And Aaron, I bet if we went back and looked at your numbers, it took you 10 months to get there. But just so that the audience understands the impact of this no FLQA status, I bet if we looked at your numbers, you actually, under this new comp plan, got there in 3 or 4 months.
Probably.
Because you didn't need to unlock those levels to realize that income. I was just looking at my numbers. It took me 7 months to get to $10,000 a month, but I would have got there in month 3 under this new plan.
That's wild.
Is like once I got to 10 grand a month, which took 7, in month 8 I went past 20,000 a month, and then in month 10 I went past 30,000 a month, and it just kept growing and growing and growing. So it's just a freaking amazing opportunity. And I guess my passion lies in, if you're doing it the old way and you're doing it the hard way, it's like, I just want to help that person realize that there's a better way out there to do it, that they can do everything that they're already doing that's amazing, but doing it on this platform does not mean you switch from you and your brand and business to now your eXp. eXp just wants to be the platform that you do you on.
Yeah, it's funny, dude, because we just brought over a brokerage of 20 agents, and she was telling me that I was being played for. I'm like, yeah, dude, like you guys should do a post of you and your husband, because they built it together as a team for 10 years. They had like 60 agents, right? And I was like, yeah, you guys could be like Betty and Barney Rubble. And you're like running around like doing real estate. And then somebody stops you like, hey, wait a minute. There's like another way to do this without all the expenses. And she laughed, because it's very much so true. So I guess my question is as well, because we're going over some of the changes. One is the magnitude of the elimination of frontline qualifying agents in order to unlock the 3 levels.
Biggest part of this announcement is to understand that the magnitude of no qualifications. The second thing to just kind of be informed about and understand is percentages and payouts. The payout hasn't changed. The percentages have a little bit. We've just made it easier for people to come in and get paid quicker. And all of us in a leadership role and an influencer role are huge proponents of this, because we know that the future growth and long-term viability of our own organizations within eXp is about getting that new guy paid, that new gal paid. If we can help them change their life, it's the old Zig Ziglar quote, we help enough of you get what you want, we get what we want.
Yeah,
so we're excited about it. Another thing they did, which I think is super cool, is they put a pay it now button. So at eXp, when you have an organization, whether it's one other person or hundreds or thousands, you have a dashboard, and you can see kind of as your revenue share builds day by day all throughout the month. Well, you used to have to wait for, the middle of the month for that payout to reconcile. And then you got paid direct deposit on the 22nd of the month, thereabouts. If there was a weekend, it would adjust by a day or so. But that's the way it's always been when I've been with the company. Well, now they implemented a pay it now button. So you can harvest that money out anytime you want. So say you're in the middle of that pay cycle and you're looking at, thousands or tens of thousands of dollars right there. You don't have to wait for the 30 days to collect it. You can just hit pay it now and grab it now. I think that's going to be really important for somebody who's looking at this opportunity, who is maybe an independent broker owner, and they're coming into a model like eXp where, there are some fees. They didn't have any fees before, but they're also getting compensated by the agents through the revenue sharing model. So they're able to offset those fees. And maybe in the first couple months, it's a tight transition for them. Well, they don't have to wait to get paid. They can harvest that money whenever they want. I think that's going to be a real help to a lot of people.
Yeah, that, and I saw something where as soon as they announced it, like $1 million had been harvested in like 24 hours, something crazy, right?
4 hours, yeah.
And that demonstrates that to agents, that's very valuable. Because I think, I've heard Glenn talk about what you were just saying, like simplicity scales and complexity fails. And agents care about a few things. How fast can I get paid? How efficiently can I get paid? Like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And this just takes, we've done that because of the technology. And if you fill out everything, like, at a closing, you get wired like right away. Well,
Sure.
now we've done the same thing with the revenue share, where as whenever you want, you could hit a button and boom, it just shows up in your account within 12 hours.
Yeah. One of our guys in my group hit the button as soon as they showed it. Like, he's just an implementer like that. He's like, you want to see what's happened? I was like, I don't know if I want to hit that button yet.
Hey, I love it, dude. You're like, I don't know, dude. I don't know. We'll see how this works out.
But he hit the button, and 12 hours later, it was in his bank account. And I was like, that's crazy, man. So just cool stuff. One thing I'll say about Glenn Sanford in the 3.5 years that I've been on this journey with him is he's always approaching this, and he's always running the company and the vision for the company. He stepped down this year as CEO, but he's still running eXp's worldwide, which is over the Realty and all the other entities that we have. So he's extremely involved. But he's always made decisions that were best for the agent.
I love that.
The reason this company started is because he was at another company. They had a profit share model. He was dissatisfied with the results he was getting from this. And he said, this doesn't really benefit the agents like they sell it. So as he thought through and created ultimately what became eXp, he's maintained true to that focus of, if we help the agent sell more real estate, sell real estate better, make more money on their real estate career journey, we're all going to win. And I think this is just a testament. Like, look, this change in a 90,000 agent company is not an easy change. I've had private conversations with the people that, head up our revenue share division, and all the modeling and just safeguards that went into place to make sure that this was going to be a good change for the company. I mean, we've been working on this for months. And I just applaud them for all the effort and work they did. And I applaud Glenn for having the ability, the wherewithal, the determination to continuously Kaizen this opportunity and lead from the front and make a change like this that's going to benefit all the agents at scale.
Yeah, and do it from a place, because do it from a place of offense, not defense.
Yeah.
So what I think you're seeing now is, other models that are legacy are having to play defense.
Yeah.
And what Glenn is doing is innovating from a place of offense, which is like, hey, we don't have to do this at all. Like, we're doing just fine. Let's go ahead and implement this because we think it's going to help us grow and expand.
Totally.
What I wanted to say is, I'm a believer that the way you pay somebody incentivizes their behavior. Can the $4,000? Can you clarify on that a little bit?
Yeah. So if I go out and recruit somebody, the way that the model currently works is I can earn up to $1,400 on an agent that's on my level one. So if that agent caps with eXp in a calendar year, they're going to pay in $16,000, and my percentage on that first level, because they're dividing that $8,000 50% to the revenue share pool, dividing that up on levels 1 through 7, the payout that I can earn on level 1 is $1,400 plus any bonus money that gets rebonused in that's unrealized revenue share. But what's cool about it is now we're talking in the term of guarantees. So if that agent caps, you're guaranteed $1,400. And I like that talk better than what you could potentially make up to. I think that's an important distinction. And the cool thing is you're going to make more because there's always going to be extra money that's going to be bonused in, but you're going to make that $1,400. What they said is in year 1 of an agent joining eXp, instead of that being $1,400, it's going to be $4,000. So the percentage will stay the percentage, but the amount that you're going to make is going to be more in year 1. So if an agent caps that you recruit in year 1, you'll make $4,000 plus. You'll still get that additional bonus money. And that's huge, guys. That's more than it's ever been on level 1. That's more than any other company pays out on level 1. That's a significant amount of money. So when I was running my real estate team, it's like, hey, what did you do this week? I don't care, how many, websites you researched and how many YouTube videos you watched. What did you do that was phase 1 activity? being face-to-face or on the phone with a potential buyer or seller. That's phase one activity. Now we have this phase one activity bonus, which is, what did you do to recruit or influence an agent to join eXp and name you as their sponsor? We're going to reward you for that, and you're going to make $4,000. And then if they, you make $4,000 in year one, year two, it'll go back to that normalized amount of $1,400 if they cap. I just think it's super, man. Like, I'm excited about it because guys, case in point, like guys like you, Aaron, you're recruiting a lot of people personally. Like, you're putting in the effort, you're doing the reps, you producing the content, all the videos. For a guy like you, this could be a 6-figure earning opportunity just on your level one with what you're already doing. And then you're able to make that kind of money while you're building an organization that over time will pay you a passive income that will change your family tree.
100%. And what I'm aware of is I always, I like to think about this like long-term versus short-term. And everything rises and falls on leadership. It just does. And what happens is that leadership, just like in corporate America, will gravitate to the compensation plans that reward their talent appropriately. And what this is doing is precisely that. It's providing the income. Okay, so I spoke to Casey. I know you know Casey, and she's like, bro, she's one of those people, bro. When I hear her speak, I'm like, yep, sharp as a tack. You know what I'm saying? Like 100% accurate assessment of reality, very clear and concise, very logical and rational, and very straightforward. And what she said to me is, you want leaders to lead. You want leaders to lead. You have to give them the runway to lead, and really strong leaders need to be compensated appropriately. Well, what this does is it allows leaders to lead and provides the income that will allow them to spend more of their time, energy, and effort in leading.
Yeah, and that quote you just said, everything rises and falls on leadership, is a John Maxwell quote, and I love John Maxwell and his leadership principles. Something else that John Maxwell says is important too. He's got a quote, and it says, "Change is inevitable, growth is optional." And that couldn't be more fitting for where we are as a company. Like, hey, the landscape's going to continue to change, but if we didn't have the type of leadership that we have, it'd be easy for Glenn Sanford, a billionaire, 90,000 person company, to just kind of coast from here. But the amount of effort and work that he's continuing to demonstrate and put into this company to make it the best opportunity, that's the optional part. Change is going to happen no matter what. And he stepped in and he said, growth is optional. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give the tools and the resources to our agents to grow into this next level. And I think that's a solid testament to his character and who he is and how he leads from the front with this company. And,
well, yeah, and I think there's others out there who will look at what, this change and try to paint it in a light that's negative. And what I think is very interesting is, in all Fortune like 500 companies over the last 100 years that have come into existence, there's only 4 that are still in existence. That shows the unrelenting, uncompromising march of change.
Yeah.
And if you don't change, then you die. Like, that is what happens, right? So if anything, I think it's reflective of a willingness to change and to change preemptively prior to it being necessary, which is because business is an infinite game.
Yes.
It never stops. It's going to be happening long after Aaron Novello, John Mikush, and Jose Morales are still playing. It was happening way before. And the purpose of an infinite game is just really to keep playing, because there's nothing to really win, right? It's just to keep playing, and it's to equip other players to play. But in order to, if I'm going to play that infinite game, what I'm basically signing up for is learning very quickly, changing my mind very fast, and making changes on a regular basis, because the landscape changes. If anybody was to look at real estate 5 years ago, and if I was to tell you that, like, all these things were going to happen, and Zillow was going to purchase Follow Up Boss, and then all of these, the rule changes, like, everybody would look at me and be like, it's a Twilight Zone, bro. That's not true. But it has.
One of the things that I think has been a critical aspect to eXp's growth journey is that Glenn Sanford, call it luck, call it intuition, call it whatever you want, nobody really knows like what was going through his head at the time that he came up with this model. but he perfected this idea of compensation for contribution. You know, I was at Keller Williams for a time. There's zero chance that I would have wasted my time being a coach at Keller Williams for what I would have been compensated. I was out busy selling houses, breaking records in my market. But Glenn figured out the balance of compensation and contribution. And you see that at all levels of the company. I'm not just talking recruiting. They desperately need a mentor. They need somebody to hold their hand through their first 3 transactions. We have that at eXp. We have a mentor program where people are dying to get in and be certified mentors because the compensation for contribution is right. We have a recruiting plan where we attract agents to the company and we get rewarded for that. That compensation for contribution is so right. I can't tell you how many times, you know, I'll be talking with one of our newer agents in our organization and they'll be like, John, thank you so much. I know your time's valuable. Like, you're so busy, whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm here for you. And the reason that I can be here for you, by the way, in an even more effective manner than I could as a real estate coach. As a real estate coach, it was a transaction. You were paying me X amount of dollars per month. I was giving you X in return. That was a transaction-based relationship. At eXp, it's so much bigger than that because I can feed into you, Aaron, or you, Jose, and it's not a transaction. There's unlimited possibility on the other side of that if we can grow together.
And there's what happens is like there's this awesome synergy. So you can help me, you know, in ways because you're a little bit further down the path, and then I can actually help you in ways like with media or like other stuff where so it's like we triangulate ideas with each other and really it unleashes the synergy. Now, in terms of changing things, I also want to impress upon people that other models that have a revenue share component with all of their complexities and how they do it, with a very, very high degree of probability, almost certainty, I would say, are going to have to change what they're doing. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, if you're looking at a company that has revenue share, kudos to you because the future of our industry is that. I would just encourage anybody to really kind of look past the surface and what's being told to you and actually understand the mechanics of how that comp plan works. There's a lot of things because this is newer that people really just aren't aware of. And, you know, eXp has done something that no company has ever done in the history of real estate before. A lot of other companies that are coming out with similar models is saying, yeah, but we're going to be the next eXp. And I think that's a rather foolish assumption to make because we did what we did in what's called a blue ocean. There's a great book out there called Blue Ocean Strategy. We did what we did in a blue ocean strategy with no competition. Now, maybe there's a new company coming along that's a fraction of our size and they're saying, we're going to be the next eXp. It's like, well, eXp is already in this space. They already innovated it. They were the first to market. You're suggesting that you're going to do what's only ever been done once before. And you're going to do that in a red ocean, meaning an environment where there's a lot of competition. I think that's an unrealistic goal. I think what's important for somebody to understand is like, what am I getting here? Am I getting the steak or am I getting the sizzle? And I'd much rather follow a proven, repeatable plan where somebody can grow and grow more effectively and actually earn more income than maybe any other model out there, with proven leadership that's been through all the growth pains and challenges that come with massive growth and continues to do what's right for the agent. Like, I'm going to put my flag on that mountain, not on one that's not done any of those things before and is saying we're going to be. Certainly not one that's not profitable. And profitability, again, we started out talking about that earlier, is a key to longevity in a business. If a company is not profitable, it's highly unlikely that their current comp plan is going to remain the same. You just can't operate from a position of non-profitability for very long. Our company is super profitable, very strong. We've scaled this thing to infinity. We have this new comp plan that I think rewards the behaviors that we want to see most. And we got amazing talent and leadership, and we're just excited about the next wave.
Yeah. So
this is what I told Aaron, John, a while back, because I saw when different models were coming in and kind of trying to do something similar to what eXp was doing and saying that it was better. What I told Aaron is I told him a story about the Hellcat. So at some point, like Tesla had the fastest car, and then the Hellcat came up with a faster car than Tesla. And then what Elon Musk did, he did a software update, and then Tesla became the fastest car again. So what I told Aaron.
Dang, bro, why you gotta confuse me, bro? You're better than that, bro.
What I told Aaron is that the power of being profitable, the power of being first to market, the power of having all the systems and gone through all the learning curves is that if something changes where the landscape is changing, eXp can literally just press a button and all of a sudden say, we're making this change, and this change, and we're already profitable. And these changes are going to address these concerns to make the system a lot better and allow us to get to the next level. Now, what I wanted to ask you though, because this is important, under the new comp plan, like if somebody wanted to make $10,000 a month, like what would, and I don't know if this is too soon or if you've thought about this yet, like what would that look like? What would be your game plan for an agent in that circumstance?
Well, first of all, I love that analogy. And I think that's what we just did. I think by us removing the FLQA status, the qualification status to unlock those first 3 levels, I think we just hit the software upgrade and it just blew us out ahead of all the competition.
And the stock market responded very well to it. I was looking at the stock right now. I saw that the stock went up after the change basically as well.
So, but to answer your question concisely, there's a million ways that we can get to the destination, and a lot of hypothetical assumptions could be made. Like, hey, if I get 5 people and then those 5 people get 5 people, but why would I talk about that when I can talk about the simplest path that's within your control, which is if you go out and recruit 3 people that are capping agents and you do that each month, which I think is extremely doable right now, and you get the $4,000 bonus for each capping agent, you're going to be so far beyond $10,000 a month as that plays out. That's in your control. In fact, you could probably model it out to where it's 1 agent per month consistently. That's like, an agent that sells more than a handful of homes a year, a capping agent. And by the end of a year, you're going to see that model out to be over $10,000 a month. I would say if you really want to see a plan around that, it's going to take sitting down. Like I always tell people, like, you can't understand eXp and how it's going to work for you on a drive-by. So a lot of people that I talk to or interact with will say, yeah, I'm familiar with eXp. And as I ask more clarifying questions, I find out they really have an understanding, like a general idea of like the model and how it works, but they've never actually studied it to see how it could work for them. So every agent's different. If you're a brand new agent, my advice and my plan and path of action is going to be slightly different for you than if you're a seasoned 15-year veteran, you're a top producer in your market. The dialogue, the language, the approach is going to be a little bit different. So I would just encourage you, if you are interested in making $10,000 a month passively because you're exhausted from having to sell houses every year and hit the reset button every January 1st and do it all over again, then have a conversation. Have a conversation with, one of us, anybody, and we'll break down what that pathway looks like. And you can decide for yourself if that pathway to $10,000 a month in passive income, number one, feels realistic and doable for you. And if you believe in the plan to get there. And if the answer to those are yes for you, likely you're going to go ahead and join. That's why I never feel like I have to sell eXp. I'm like, I just want to show it to you. And if you decide after I show it to you that it's not for you, I'm cool. Like, that's your decision to make. But what I find is when people slow down and look at it and actually do their due diligence at an extremely high, conversion rate, they decide that it is for them because they see that it's everything they're already doing and so much more.
Yeah. What I share with people is like, if you're smart, hardworking, and ambitious, once you see this, you cannot unsee it.
Yeah.
And that Warren Buffett has a saying that there's only a few things that you can sufficiently explain to a virgin with words. So like you have to like have an experience, right? So the same is true here. And the most expensive thing you can own is a closed mind. That was very true for me. And our mind is not what actually sees things. Excuse me, our eyes aren't what actually sees things. It's actually our mind.
Yeah.
If my mind is blind to the possibility, my eyes will be blind to the opportunity. There'll literally be something in front of me and I won't see it. And all it might take is one conversation for someone to explain. That's all it took for me. Once I understood the difference between profit share and rev share, immediately I was like, I got it.
Yeah.
Immediately. And I'm like, okay, like this is clear. I'm very clear what this is. This is really like a regional owner opportunity. And
you shared something with me that I thought was just, it was really cool. We were talking the other day, you know, about this model versus other models versus like, oh, what's our competition going to say about this change? Like, how are they going to spin it as a negative thing? And share that with the audience, because I thought it was well explained and insightful. So if I'm like, oh yeah, they just did this or that, like, and they're trying to turn it as a negative, what would you say to that?
Yeah, I would just kind of like chuckle, be like, yeah, you know, I kind of expect them to say that. You know what I'm saying? So let's say you were shopping for an automobile, you were at the Mercedes-Benz dealership, and you mentioned to the dealer, hey, you know, I'm thinking about buying one of those Teslas. It's like, what do you expect the Mercedes dealer to say? He's going to be like, well, gosh, I mean, have you heard you have to like charge them all the time? Like they have those charging stations. And man, did you hear about those couple that blew up? It's like, of course he's going to say that. You know, there's a saying that says it's very difficult for someone to understand something when their livelihood depends on them not understanding it.
Mm.
So it's like, yeah, of course I would expect them to say that. So what I'd like to do is just ask you a couple questions just so you're clear on the differences between the two, so you can make an educated decision. And whatever you decide, I'll support you 100%. Fair enough? And they'll be like, fair. And then you start asking questions about, hey, you know, their compensation plan, like it only goes 5 levels deep versus 7. Like, did they mention that to you at all? And they're like, well, you know, da da da. And it's like, yeah. And then this whole thing about like frontline qualifying agents and how here, like, you actually don't need any to unlock the first 3 levels, and there you need X amount. Like, were you aware of that? No, I wasn't aware of that. Hey, and were you aware that it says right in their ICA that you can't like offer anything in terms of, you know, coaching or training or guidance as far as attraction mechanisms are concerned? Did you know that? And they're like, well, no. It's like, yeah. So, you know, I just wanted to make sure that you were fully equipped and you can decide accordingly. I guess I'm wondering, now that that has come to light, which model or option or compensation plan do you think would actually serve you and your family best? And then be quiet. And then let them self-discover, because I think the highest form of selling is actually self-discovery. It's not trying to talk anybody into doing anything. And then the other thing that I shared on the call was that, you know, competition's good, guys.
Absolutely.
And some of these, one in particular I'm thinking about, they're a worthy opponent. Smart, articulate, very good at presenting. And you actually want worthy opponents if you're a competitor, because otherwise it gets boring. Like, I want people that are worthy competitors, so that way it just forces me to get faster, quicker, stronger, get better at, like, you know, handling these kind of questions that people have and things of that nature.
Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. I think, you know, competition is definitely part of the enhancement that we're seeing right now as a company. I'm just confident, man. I'm confident in the leadership and the model that we have, and excited to see what the future brings and what new levels of growth we can achieve. You know, this is not only rolling out in the US and Canada, but it's rolling out, I've heard, as early as July 1st throughout the world in the 24 countries that we're in and the new countries that we're entering. So just really excited about that. Super grateful to be in business with you guys, man. I didn't know you guys before this, so this was an interesting way for us to come together. And you guys are doing amazing things. Anybody watching this, like, if you want a mentor, if you want a coach, if you want somebody who's going to be honest with you and tell you what you need to do and maybe not what you want to do to get to that next level in your sales career, but also at the same time build a passive piece that's going to protect you and your family long term, reach out to these guys. They're amazing.
Love it, brother. Hey, and the same is true. Like, what I can say emphatically is, in the short amount of time, which is wild about that we've been in proximity to each other, you've always been available, always been helpful, came down on your own dime to our first event and spoke. So, like, you are the definition of, like, leadership. And we're super appreciative to be in business with you.
You know what's crazy? It's easier for me to run in this organization with over 2,000 people than it was for me to run my real estate brokerage with 20 people.
Yeah.
Let that sink in for all the people that are out there that are exhausted right now. So I just appreciate you guys, and let's go. Let's grow.
That's what's
Appreciate
up.
you guys.
Let's go. Let's grow. Coast to coast, baby.
I just
What's
saw
up?
the get paid now button, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
that.
crazy.
Hey, and
That's
Roy
crazy.
Ray says that there's some killer beards on the panel. So for $10.99, we'll give you the secrets. No, I'm just kidding.
Mine's getting kind of white, but hey, man, it is what it is.
Hey, yeah, that's cool, bro. I'll be the silver fox. So appreciate you. Tune in to the next time. Same Elite Builders channel, same Elite Builders time.